I thought my wife cheated on me because my son looked absolutely nothing like me, so I did a paternity test in secret, and it came back positive. I confessed to my wife out of guilt, and now she wants to divorce me for being a racist. Posted by you/throwerbiologicalkid. I'm a 29-year-old white guy. My wife is 30 and black. We have 2 kids, a 3-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy. My wife got pregnant with our son early in our relationship. We had only been together a year. We got married because she got pregnant. Fortunately for us, we are actually happy. When my son was born, I accepted him as mine. However, I couldn't help noticing how little he looked like me. He is noticeably darker than my wife. He doesn't look half white. My family and friends have asked if I'm sure he's mine. I had doubts, but I initially decided to trust my wife. I loved my son regardless. When our son was 2, my wife had our daughter. I had no doubt she's mine. She looks just like me, she even has my blue eyes. I never realized how powerful it is to know a child is yours. I bonded with her more easily because there wasn't the question of paternity dangling over our heads. My family bonded with her faster too. Her resemblance to me convinced me that my son is not mine. I tried to always treat them equally, as I see them both as my children. But I realized I was beginning to resent my son. It felt unfair that I had to care for someone else's child. I also began to resent my wife because I felt she had betrayed me. I finally got a paternity test in secret. I was relieved to learn that my son is, in fact, mine. Genetics are weird. Anyway, that was 4 months ago, and my relationship with my wife and son has improved dramatically. I feel much closer to him now that I know he's mine. My wife and I have been so happy that we were talking about a 3rd child. I confessed to my wife that I got a paternity test. I hated keeping the secret, and I thought she would understand given how much he doesn't look like me. She flipped out. She asked me if I ever doubted our daughter, and when I said no, she called me racist. It's not true. I didn't prefer my daughter because of her whiter features, I just knew she was mine. She also said that I made our son feel unloved for no reason for all those years. I said that's not true. Even when I didn't believe my son was mine, I treated him as though he were. My wife says she wants to move out and take our children after the quarantine. It's been about a week and a half, and I'm still on the sofa. I hoped she would have calmed down by now, but things haven't changed. She's just so furious with me for not trusting her and for, in her eyes, denying my son because he's dark. She barely talks to me unless it's about the kids. I don't want to lose my family. Is it so awful that I had doubts? I still took care of him. I don't understand why something like this is wrecking my marriage. I think she is overreacting. Am I the jerk for getting a paternity test? Top/relevant comments. Additional info from Op. When my wife was pregnant with our son, I didn't question that he was mine. We'd been seeing each other for a year, and I never had reason to think she cheated. We got married before my wife was showing. When our son was born, I didn't think he looked like me, but I still believed he was mine. A few of my family members would comment on how he didn't look at all like me. My brother, from the start, did not think he was my son. I still wanted to believe he was mine, but I did notice how he'd gotten darker than my wife and didn't seem to have any of my features. Then, when my daughter was born, I saw what I thought a child between my wife and me would more likely look like. I stopped believing he was my son. I still treated him like he was my son because I didn't want to lose my family. In the end, I realized I had to know. I was planning to either try to work it out with my wife or leave her and get joint custody of our daughter. Thankfully, he is my son. Commenter. You didn't treat your children equally. For 5 years, a significant part of you believed your son wasn't yours. You really think that didn't affect your parenting? Your son is young enough that you'll probably be able to undo any damage, but you're refusing to accept that it had any effect on your parenting when it clearly did. No, you shouldn't have doubted your wife. But most of all, this suspicion of yours, which was based on nothing except his skin color, which might very well lighten a bit when he grows up. By the way, maybe your wife was darker when she was a baby, affected the way you treated your son. That's what makes you the jerk. Your child didn't do anything to deserve that. You should feel guilty for treating him so unfairly, and you should accept your wife's criticism of you, because she's not overreacting. This might wreck your marriage because it goes to the heart of a very basic trust that needs to exist between you and your wife as partners, but also between you and your wife as parents. She needs to be able to trust that you won't love your daughter and hate your son just because you see more of yourself in your daughter. You should try to repair the damage you did. Admit your faults, and you might have a chance of keeping your family together. Op's response. Thanks for the comment. I always intended to treat my children equally. If there were times I was unintentionally or unknowingly showing favoritism towards my daughter, it won't happen again. I got the DNA test when I started to resent him because I didn't want it to make me a bad father. I agree that doubting my wife was a mistake. Commenter. It was not unknown to you. You yourself stated that you felt a different bond with your daughter and that your extended family did, too. You knew this for yourself, you witnessed it from your extended family, and you still didn't just have a simple conversation with your wife about your paternity fears? You're the jerk, dude. You're the jerk, and you don't get to cherry pick what actually happened just because you had good intentions. Ops response. My mind's all over the place and I'm pretty shaken. Sorry for contradicting myself. I felt betrayed by my wife once I believed that my son was not mine. I trusted her before that, and I trust her now that I realize I was wrong. And I would do anything to prevent any damage I may have caused my son. I hope he never finds out. I screwed up. Update 1 month later. After being ripped to shreds on my first post, I didn't plan to ever log into this account again. Some recent events have persuaded me to update you all on what's been going on. I'll just get right to it. My wife and I are currently separated. I moved out so she and the kids could stay in our home. I'm staying with my parents for now. I don't get to see my kids as often as I would like to. When I have a more stable living situation, we'll have joint custody of them. It's been very hard on me and the kids. I talk to them on the phone every night, and they both keep asking when I'm coming home. It breaks my heart that I can't answer that question. My daughter is taking it the worst. I feel awful that her world has been turned upside down by her own parents. I miss my family. I miss seeing my kids every day. I miss my wife. Our relationship is in limbo for now. She says she needs space to process and doesn't know if she will be able to forgive me. I've apologized in every way that I know how to. At this point, I just have to give her the space she wants and hope she calms down. It would be horrible for us to throw away what we built. If separating has been this hard on the kids, divorce is going to shatter them. She seems open to seeking couples counseling. That gives me some hope that we can work past this. As for Reddit, I admit I didn't want to hold myself accountable before. I couldn't see how my actions were subconsciously harmful to my son. It was never my intention to be racist, but I did treat my son differently due to his skin color when you break it down to its roots. I realized how badly I messed up when I felt ashamed thinking my wife has probably told her family why we separated. They used to think really highly of me. Now they all probably think I'm a racist. I have no one to blame for that but myself. With all the craziness going on in the world, I know that I need to be more aware of my actions. My kids deserve for their family to be a safe haven from racism. It scares me thinking about the type of world I will send them out into, where they could be racially profiled in most places. I can't imagine if it were my son on the news instead of one of those other poor guys. I'll never let anything get in the way of my relationship with him again. Thanks all. Second update 2 years 7 months later. It's been over a year and a half since I used this account. I stopped replying to PMs a long time ago because, to put it bluntly, I felt like crap when I was reminded of what caused me to make this account in the first place, even though most of the PMs I got weren't bad. I was shocked but flattered to see dozens of messages still coming in as recently as a few months ago. I want to give an update on my life for those people. I'm single. My ex-wife and I had our divorce finalized early in 2022. We had gotten back together for almost a year after I told her about the paternity test. I made promises to be a better husband, and I believe that I kept those promises, even though it didn't work. Unfortunately, things were not the same despite both of our best efforts, including months of counseling, couples counseling and private counseling for her. The fact of the matter is, she could never forgive me enough to trust me, so it was never going to work. Towards the end, she didn't even want to be intimate with me in any way, so much so that I slept most nights on the couch or in my kids' rooms. We became roommates. I would have kept trying to fix things forever, but she was willing to face the fact that it was over way before I could. I still have a lot of love for her, and I think I always will. I'm not ashamed to say I haven't gotten over how devastating it was, even though it's my fault. I developed depression badly, which I know some people would say I deserve. I even had to quit my old job because of it. I still miss her, and even more, I miss what we had together. I dread the day I hear that she is in a relationship with someone else because I know it will come someday. I have an apartment to myself now. It took a while for me to get on my feet. My kids, now 8M, almost 6F, spend every other weekend with me, and I get them 50-50 when there are breaks from school. My son is very athletic and is very good at soccer. As he has gotten older, I have seen more of myself in him than I did in his youth. He hasn't heard about the paternity test, and I hope he never will. He's a great kid. I work hard to make up for the time lost when I was anxious to get too close to him. My daughter is still my mini-me. She loves me almost as much as I love her. She's athletic too, loves gymnastics and soccer. I think a lot about how, if I hadn't needed a paternity test, they might have another sibling. Not a good thing to dwell on. My life went in a direction I didn't expect. It's not perfect, but it's getting better every day. I have a lot to be grateful for, and I remind myself of that when it is hard. My kids are all that matters. Thanks for caring. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. White slave masters, despite their racist beliefs, would frequently sexually assault black women, reinforcing the notion that black women were considered inferior. This demonstrates the harmful idea that one can simultaneously be sexually attracted to someone while still harboring racist beliefs. It is alarming to know that this kind of racial hostility and abuse was present in the home, where it should have been a safe space. The relationship between black boys in America is already difficult, and it is heartbreaking to think that you perpetuated this harm and introduced him to the world with these biases. This had less to do with the presumption that your wife was potentially a cheater and more to do with you. It's sad to know that if your wife had cheated with a white man and your son looked more like you wish you would have still treated that son better because he looked the part. I'm going to dismiss your depression and focus instead on the hurtful situation you caused your ex. Your wife made a choice to be with you, and it is understandable that she would feel sick to her stomach knowing about your past behavior, DNA test, emotional abuse, and beliefs. It would be wise for her to protect her children from being exposed to such negative influences, your family included. It has been scientifically proven that the emotional state of a mother during pregnancy can impact the development of the fetus. Therefore, it is likely that your son was affected by the racial tension, because that's what it was, in his home, even if he was unable to fully understand or express it. There is a risk that your son may grow up without a sense of belonging and may even resent black women due to the treatment he received from his father. I hope that your son does not try to distance himself from his black identity in an attempt to gain validation from you, his father. In light of these circumstances, it is crucial that you take the time to educate yourself and work towards understanding and combating racism in all its forms. All in all, it sounds like you got your just deserts. I don't wish low periods on anyone, but this one, my friend, well deserved. Whatever you learned from this experience should also be shared with your family. Commenter 2. She had personal therapy, but he didn't. Interesting.